Hey everybody, I hope you're having an awesome day. So, today I'm going to talk about this series that's called A Series of Unfortunate Events. The author of this series is named Daniel Handler. He goes by the surname of Lemony Snicket. So, Daniel Handler has written 13 novels in this series. They have adapted this series into a movie starring Jim Carrey, a Netflix series. It stars Neil Patrick Harris, and a video game. So, here's a warning about this series. A series of unfortunate events. Even though this series is often categorized as a children's series, there is a lot of questionable, disturbing, violent, and mature content in this series. Daniel Handler, the author of the series, says that he wrote it because of how optimistic children's books usually are, that tend to have a happy ending, be overly cheerful and uplifting. So throughout the series, children encounter abuse, child abuse, death, murder. People die in horrible ways in this series. There's violence, horror, suffering, loss, pain, grief, misery, and despair in this series of unfortunate events. The books also contain slight suggestive sexual and pedophilic themes. For example, in the first book in the series called The Bad Beginning, the parents of the 3 orphan children, starring characters in the books, supposedly burned to death in a fire. The book also includes scenes of the orphan children being duct taped, tied with rope, and hung in a bird cage. The book ends with one of the characters, called Olaf, one of the main characters, telling one of the children that he intends to kill her with his own 2 hands. The book also depicts the character Olaf marrying one of the 14-year-old orphan children. In another book in the series entitled The Reptile Room, we see a character rubbing a knife against one of the orphan children's body in order to psychologically terrify her. In the next book in the series entitled The Miserable Mill, we see a character actually sawed to death. In the TV series with Neil Patrick Harris playing Olaf, we see the book adapted like a horror movie. In the books, the children are under constant threats of death and violence. People die in gruesome ways, and Count Olaf in the series is depicted as goat-like, whom stalks the orphans mercilessly, is a psychopathic serial killer, and is involved in secret society. Handler said about his books that God is not a character in a series of unfortunate events. So why is it important that we should stay away from and not watch this series, not play this game, or not watch this movie, or not even read these books in order to stay away from this kind of content that's being put out there? What does the Bible say about these things that are being put out there by this author? So Psalm 68:5-6 says that God in heaven is a father to the fatherless. He is a defender of widows. He is in his holy dwelling. He sets the lonely in families. So orphans and adoption is a big deal on the heart of God. Matthew 18:5, it says, "Whoever receives such children in his name receives me." In Isaiah 1-17, it says, "Learn to do good, seek justice, defend the orphans, and plead for the widows." In Proverbs 31:8, it says, "Speak up for all those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights who are all destitute." And so then we go on, what does the Bible say about murder and violence, which is a huge theme in this book. So it says, Titus 3:2, do not slander anyone, be peaceable and considerate and gentle to everyone. Mark 7:21 through 22, it is within a man's heart evil thoughts come, which are murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, greed, deceit, and envy. Galatians 5:19 through 21, the acts of the flesh are obvious, which are impurity, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, fits of rage, envy, and the like. And in Romans 14:10 through 13, it says, we will all stand before God's judgment seat. Each of us will give an account of what we do. Matthew 5:38 through 39, you've heard it said, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, but do not resist an evil person. If they slap you on the cheek, turn to them the other cheek. And John 8:44, the devil was a murderer from the beginning. He is a liar and the father of all lies. So the Bible warns us that murder is not something that is that God wants for any of us to have in our lives, in our hearts, and so we need to. This is just a warning about this series, and thank you to my subscriber who asked me to do this. All right, well, God bless. Love y'all. Thanks, and have a good day.